All right, we're all on mute. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Where Do I Fit In with your girl, Victoria Hicks of the Victoria Hicks brand. Come on in. Hey, Camila. Y'all came in quick. How y'all doing tonight? Happy Monday. We are also live on YouTube. So, hey, Camila on YouTube. How are you doing? Let us know where you're from. Let us know how you're doing. As you all come in, don't forget to share this broadcast with your followers. And ladies, the panelists, if you can share this broadcast as well, I would greatly appreciate it. Miss Camila Cross says she is here and she is ready for the amazing lineup. So she is ready. All right, I'm sharing it again. Welcome as you all come in. Hello, Tracy. How are you? Thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for being with us every week. I appreciate the support. I love you so much. Thanks so much for coming on in. Again, this is another Where Do I Fit In Mondays. And tonight we are talking about mental health and awareness with Black female therapists. So I'm super excited. Don't forget, as you come in, share this broadcast with your followers and let them know what you're doing on a Monday night at 8 p.m. You hanging out with your girl. Hey, Andrea, how are you on YouTube? How you doing? Thanks so much for joining me here. So I don't want to delay the time because we got a lot to do. So as you all come in, let us know where you're from. Let us know how your day is going. And don't forget to share this broadcast. We are so excited to be here tonight. If you don't know who I am, because I know I have a lot new people because of my panelists, they brought their own crew with them. I appreciate you all. My name is Victoria Hicks of the Victoria Hicks brand. And here at the Victoria Hicks brand, I curate spaces for Black women to know their purpose, to operate in purpose, and of course, live on purpose. And so I'm excited to be back for another Monday where we further the conversation about intersectionality of being Black and female in America. And so don't forget, as you come in, share this broadcast and use the hashtag Where Do I Fit In. Also, we are live on YouTube. And so you can go over to the Victoria Hicks brand on YouTube and you can find us there. So what are we on here tonight? What are we talking about? The purpose for tonight's conversation is, again, like I said, furthering the conversation about intersectionality. We started Where Do I Fit In series because of the racial injustices that were going on in America. And I was getting tired of seeing all of these Black men, white men, all these other men having these deep conversations about what was going on that was affecting us. And Black women were not included in the conversation. So I asked and posed the question, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in the conversation about race and injustice in America? And so tonight we're talking about mental health. And so every time we have these conversations, I am trying to do as much research as I can. And so what I found out is that, of course, we know that Black people make up 13% of the population here in America. But however, we make up 19% of those affected by mental illnesses. And so despite such statistics, only about 1/4 of Black people actually seek out mental health care compared to white people or other counterparts at 40%. And so white people grow up very early learning to go and take care of their mental health, whereas in our community, we do not as much. And so for those Black people who actually do go seek out mental health care, they struggle to find a therapist who share their same racial identity. And I know that was a big factor for me when I was looking for my own therapist. I wanted someone who can understand my culture, values, experiences, especially those relating to oppression, racism, and intergenerational trauma. So as you all are coming in, don't forget to share the broadcast. And so, what also was a caveat when I was looking for a therapist, and I know so many for you as well, is that I also wanted a therapist of faith. And so, that is also a factor when doing research, that a lot of people are trying to find someone that also shares their same faith. And so it's very important tonight that we continue to have the conversation about the importance of our mental health. And so, of course, I needed some help to have this conversation. So I brought in some of the baddest ladies I know. These women are absolutely phenomenal. They are educated, they are beautiful, they are successful, and they are doing major things in their field. And they are not to be played with. I'm just saying, they're not to be played with. And when I look at them and I read their bios and I looked at their websites, I literally was so proud because I just love being a Black woman. I just love being a Black woman and seeing other Black women in their field dominate. And so I'm excited for tonight. I'm honored that they decided to come on. And I think you all are going to be blessed, educated, empowered, and informed. And so let's get started. I want to introduce my first panelist. I'm going to start with Miss Jessica. Mute your mic and tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about your business and practice, as well as your years of experience.
Hello to the people. My name is Jessica Jess Jefferson. I own a group practice called SW Social Support here in Broward County. I serve Florida, Minnesota, and New Jersey. I have been in practice since
Wow.
2003.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Next, I'm going to have Miss Magda. We go way back.
Hey there. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for this invitation, Ms. Victoria Hicks. I am Magda Demerit, licensed clinical social worker. I have been in the social work fields and the social work streets for about 15 years now, but in my practice, I launched that in 2013. I am from North Miami by way of Little Haiti.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Next, I'm going to have Miss Latrice.
Hello, everybody. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am a mental and emotional wellness creative, licensed professional counselor, and a certified life enhancement coach. I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, but I now live in South Florida with my very, very Jamaican husband. And the name of my business is Sampson Therapeutic Services. And we teach Black women the skills that they need in order to heal. So thank you. I'm excited to be
too.
here.
And next we have Miss Jalissa. Can you share with us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Shalisa. I was born and raised here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I am currently a clinical social worker as well as a therapist. I work with young adult women and teen girls. I'm also a part of SW Social Support with my amazing supervisor, Miss Jessica.
Wow, that's amazing. And last but not least, Miss Cinnamon.
Hello, I am Cinnamon Key, also known as Naturally Cinnamon, the resilience cultivator. I believe very much in building resilience in my clients from my business, Jamila Wellness, LLC, and I represent deep down south, Homestead, South Dade in the house.
I know that's right. 305 till I die. Okay. We appreciate you all. Thanks so much, ladies. So let's get into the conversation. I want to hear a little bit more about you all so that our audience can be a little bit familiar about what you do and all that stuff. So I want to start off with Cinnamon, and then each of you all will share what made you get into mental health and what is your niche and has it evolved over the years? Cinnamon.
Okay, what got me into mental health was needing mental health for myself. I think going through different experiences in especially my early 20s, honey, I will not do my 20s again. I'm proud to be 40. I'm good. Like, that was good enough for me. But needing some help, I guess, navigating and guidance. And yes, I am a church baby as well. But there were some things in life that I was still unprepared for and didn't know how to navigate. And I needed some additional assistance. And so when I started seeking, I was mishandled by people who did not know how to deal with me. So, and some of the things that I was dealing with. So I did not want other people to deal with that. I wanted to then go into my, journey to become a therapist, a woman of color, to help other ladies who look like us. And that has been my niche. Has it changed? A little bit, because I think along the way, I got really into resilience building, because I realized that I'm just innately a resilient person. And so I had to do some deep digging. What is it that can help other people create or locate the resilience that they have in themselves? Because we can't stop life from coming, but we can stop the blows from knocking us out.
Oh, that is so good. I love that. I love that because Black women are resilient. Lord have mercy. I love that you were mishandled and then you said, I never want anyone else to feel that way. And so God literally pivots you into this direction. I think that's amazing. Yeah. So Magda, what made you get into the mental health? You've been in it 15 years. I didn't realize it's been that long. And what is your niche and how has it evolved over the
I got
years?
I got the grades to prove it, honey. Listen. So, okay, so I initially got into psychology, and then as I was learning more about psychology, I did not too much like the hands-off approach that psychology takes. They had more assessments going on. They had all this other stuff going on. But then I took an intro to social work class. And when I sat in that class, the professor in that class said, this is one of the professions that you can actually use your faith, and it is okay. And it is a part of the work that you do. After that, I was sold. It was social work. No looking back. Got my bachelor's, my master's, my license, and I'm working on my DSW now, thanks to Victoria Hicks, from the one conversation I had with you, ma'am, and now I'm in this thing and I've been working this thing. But in any event, I decided that in 2013 that I wanted to launch my practice for many reasons. I love to do supervision. It's a big part of what I do. I love to give back and I love to teach. So that's a huge part of my work, supervising and educating new professionals in the field. But in addition to that, as a believer, going to church, watching altar call, believe it or not, I started to notice that people were really suffering and people were really dealing with something that the appeal, right, to the faith brought them in, but I could tell that they were in pain. And so I said to myself, well, what's happening with them after that? Who's taking care of them? Who's talking to them? Who's treating them? And so then I said, I'm going to go ahead and go into private practice, and I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to serve my faith-based community and work with the Black community and help them to build the skills that they need to cope and to live this life, because changes are going to happen, things happen, we're going to experience trouble, but how do we manage, how do we cope, how do we be resilient and press forward? And so that's in a nutshell why I'm here. And yeah.
That's good. That's amazing. And that altar call thing is really, woo, yeah. I immediately resonated with that because I've seen it, and I'm like, she need more than prayer. He need a little bit more than prayer. But that's good. Jaleesa, let us know. How did you get into the mental health field? What is your niche, and has it evolved over the years?
So about 10 years ago when I started at FSU, I knew that I wanted to major in social work. I just wasn't exactly sure what type of social worker I wanted to be. I found myself really gravitating towards wanting to help other youth and young adults because I'm a child. I also grew up as the only child that pretty much had it together and was thought to be perfect. And due to that kind of title, I felt as if I couldn't really express what I needed. And I didn't want for any other young girl or you to feel that way. So I wanted to be the big sister or mentor that someone could confide in without feeling the judgment or disappointment of their family. So that has primarily been my targeted audience. However, over time, my niche has expanded more so to young adult women, especially now that I'm away from the college scene, just being able to really connect and resonate with young adults and all of the struggles and quarter life crisis that we go through as a young adult. So that's where I am right now.
OMG, where were you 10 years ago? Lord knows I struggle. Oh my goodness. I'm like cinnamon. I never want to see 20s again. Yeah, so wow, that's amazing. All right, next, can Miss Latrice tell us what made you get into mental health and what is your niche and has it evolved over the years?
Yes, I was sitting here just now reading everybody's name, and I'm like, OMG, I am the only one that's not a social worker up here. I didn't even realize that until just like 2 seconds ago. So I am a therapist, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I got into counseling. It wasn't intentional at all. I started out as an English major in college because I write well and I read well, and so my mother wanted me to be a teacher. I know that's just not what I wanted to do, but I did want to help people. I've always been the kind of person that other people came to, and so I just so happened to come upon psychology, and I fell in love with, the science of human behavior. Like I'm such a people watcher, and I am absolutely fascinated by human beings, and the
Mm,
diversity that exists in the human experience. I have been licensed as a therapist for about 9 years now. I actually just passed my uh, NCMHCE to get my Florida licensure. Hallelujah. Praise. Yes. Glory. And so I'm going to be submitting for that like this week or whatever. So, but I've been in the field for a long time, about 9 years I've been licensed. And in that time, what really stood out to me at being a Black woman, once again, and going through my own journey and working with other Black women, I started to kind of see patterns emerge. And these patterns of trauma, these patterns of limiting beliefs and negative thought cycles, thought processes, and things like that. And I wanted to do my part to help, and I started sharing my journey about 3 years ago, doing live streams and things like that. I started a Facebook group, and now I'm just kind of in a place where I am sharing my journey and teaching through my own journey. Thank you, everybody, for all of the congratulations. Thank you. Y'all make a girl feel good. And so my focus right now is working with Black women. Specifically, my overarching goal is to help heal the Black community, but I feel like Black women are the ones that are going to heal the Black community because we are. We the nurturers. We take care of the community. So if the community is going to heal, it's going to require for us to heal first. And so I focus my energies working with Black women and making sure that we have the skills that we need in order to, heal and manifest.
oh, that's so good. That was
Hey,
really good.
Ariva. Say that too. Hey, Ariva.
That's so good. And Jessica, last but not least, tell us what made you get into mental health? What is your niche and how has it evolved over the years?
Okay, so I guess we'll start at the beginning, if that makes sense. I started working in the social work field realm, social service realm right out of high school. I got a job working at a drug rehab because they paid really well. And I just felt like people that did drugs didn't love Jesus. I really came with a very like staunch, there's only one way to do things. I'm Haitian by culture, so it was like demonic possession or laziness. So I got into the field. I met normal people who had real problems, and I was very triangular between my beliefs, what I thought that I knew and who I thought that I was. And when I was experiencing people who were like normal people that I would like air quote, they weren't talking to people they didn't see, they like there was no hallucinations. There was nothing that I could go through and really spot on touch that made them bad Christians or bad people. So I had to really begin to kind of like deconstruct my own thought process. Okay, well, this person is air quote normal, and this drug addiction has them strung out, leaving their families, all these things. I really wanted to learn more about people. I worked at this drug rehab. My director, I didn't feel was very bright, but she had a degree. She taught me and tells us, look, all you need is education to be bright. I go to school because if you get through school, I get through school. So I went to school with despite her. My pastor was like, you should go to school. There's a lot of doing though. So I went to school, and throughout that, I've worked in various settings and various platforms. Most recently, before starting my own practice, I worked for a very large nonprofit here in the South Florida area. I was a clinical director. I experienced microaggressions for the first time. Because my entire life being in South Florida, my blackness didn't matter. I was just Jessica. Like being young, black, and female was never a thing. I hadn't experienced microaggressions. Being bright was never used against me. So I landed this job at like 30. I was the only director under 65. So I got a lot of, oh, well, you're young, ask the millennial, you know, she's going to pop off. And I really didn't understand what was going on. It made me very physiologically sick. I got physically ill. I burnt out. I ended up in the hospital. I almost died. And the long and short of that was only was wrong. I was stressed out. I was burnt out to the point of like actual on my deathbed. My husband was like, they will find somebody else. You're not going back. So during my month and a half of bed rest and really like seeking the Lord, and Black Wall Street was like our little like hub of help. There was a lot of encouragement that said, you know, just use advice. So people think by people, you can do it. So through prayer, we decided to leave the place that I was employed at. I went back to work. The day I got back, or 2 days later, I was terminated wrongfully. The very next day, I started practice full time. And I started to ask people that looked like me, that worked in my arenas, like, who do you go to for help? So I was realizing that pastors were dying by suicide, like astronomically. First responders dying by suicide, social workers having heart attacks. And I was like, well, who do we go to? Who helps the healers and the helpers heal? And there was literally nobody. Like when I looked for therapists through my near-death experience, nobody did what I needed to do. And I was like, hey, well, I can do it because I had to do it for myself. I had to like figure out, outside of prayer and fasting and godly counsel and taking the meds I needed for my breathing issues, what could I do to be well and to be home to my husband, who I vowed to God to be with his depression and to take care of myself, to be well for him, was expecting a wife to live on with him. So I owed it to myself and to my husband and to those that I'm able to minister through at church to be whole and well. I had to figure out how to do that. So from then I became the superhero therapist. And as I began to kind of like grow into what God had, I started like randomly hiring people like, hey, come work for me. I was like, Jaleesa, you're an intern. You work for the practice. She was like, what? I was like, yeah, you know, this is what we're gonna do. And it has been a journey of faith, like by far. It has been definitely walking one foot in front of the other. And luckily I go to an assembly where my pastor we have a mental health facility at our church, and he's very into church and mental health. So I've been able to spend a lot of time talking to the old people about like mental health. We brought in like diagrams of the brain that's depressed. So, like, okay, while you think it's a spiritual thing, explain these images to me. Like really being able to like tangibly talk about and touch what it's like to be unwell, to be sad, and bring biblical perspectives in to address things that are natural. Because there's spiritual problems, there's spiritual solutions for earthly problems that people that in the church need to hear. So then taking the word and applying it to the natural has been very helpful. So that's how I evolved. I definitely do Christian counseling and a lot of trauma therapy in my practice. So I started off thinking that it was all like for the birds and being very, very like, y'all need Jesus, and not being like, oh, we can do this together. So that's how I evolved, and that's my niche.
Wow, that's good. I love that. So my next question is, what is therapy? And Magda, can you tell us what is therapy? For those that may not know.
Okay, so that is a big question. So I'm gonna go ahead and hone that in. I'm gonna bring that question in, and we're just gonna focus on mental health therapy, right? Because there's all kinds of therapy. And if I have to answer that question, I would say, well, more so, what is therapy? The goal of therapy, right? And the goal of therapy would be to help someone restore appropriate levels of functioning, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, there's this big book that we got to learn stuff from in school. It's called the DSM. Y'all see that? Right? All the kind of disorders. And truth be told, all of us can find ourselves in this book. Okay, we can all find ourselves in here. The difference is one's ability to function, right? One's ability to have symptoms and to have different things going on in their world, but still be able to do the things that require their attention, that requires their survival. And I believe that when you get to a point where you can no longer do these things, you can no longer function as a parent, you can no longer function as a citizen, you can no longer function as an employee, you can no longer function as a spouse, you can no longer function as a good friend. You can't do any of these things because you're so sad, you can't get up out of the bed, you can't eat, your sleep is disrupted, you're spending money out of control, you're, saying that you're doing retail therapy and spending all kind of money on money you don't have, which is costing you additional stress on the back end. All these things start to come into play, and now you are arriving at a point where we would call you, okay, diagnosable. Now we can say, listen, you were suffering from this, and now we want you to come in so that we can provide you with care, we can provide you with treatment, we can help you figure out what's going on in your head that's causing the feelings and actions that's impacting your life and your outcomes.
Wow, that's good. I love that because that's kind of what leads people to, for those that seek it out. That's what leads us, because we're like, this part of my life is not, it does not add up to the other parts of my life. Like, I may be thriving at work, but in this particular area, I am struggling really bad. So I like the words of functioning. That part of my life is not functioning, and it is then now causing other parts of my life to be out of control as well. And I did suffer from that retail therapy thing. That was big for me.
Now, and what we want is to grow as a people, to get in a place where we're doing prevention care. Right. I talk to my Black Wall Street ladies, and we talk about, when are we going to get to a point where once a month or every 6 months, going in for a mental health checkup, like you do OBGYN, like you do primary care, like you do, getting your breast, when will that be the norm? When will insurance stop paying for the problem and start paying for prevention work, right? And so that's what it's all about. We don't want people to get to that point where their eating is disrupted. We want you to be able to recognize symptoms, recognize when you're triggered, and say, you know what, before this gets to this point, before I lose my job, before I lose my friends, before I lose my spouse, before I abuse my children, let me go and get some help so that these things don't occur.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next topic, and I definitely want to hear from all of you all. So when I was doing a little research, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, in the Black community, there is a negative stigma surrounding mental health, which we all know. And so instead of seeking professional help for conditions such as depression, anxiety, many in our community especially resort to self-medication, which is what Magda kind of alluded to. And so a lot of times we self-medicate or we isolate and attempt to solve the problem. That just hit me, because I have a friend now, she's isolated. Come forth, friend. But literature also suggests that African Americans are much more likely to rely on their faith as a coping mechanism for dealing with depression and anxiety. And they tend to not even think about getting or seeking mental health professionals to help them sort through that. They just rely on the church. And so I've been to churches as growing up as a PK, and I've seen where people who were out of sorts, that were not responding or functioning the way that others were considered to be normal, and people from the pulpit, people within the pews would just say, oh, that's so-and-so, he's crazy, or that's so-and-so, she's crazy. And unfortunately, those people just got diagnosed. They show up every Sunday, they show up every Tuesday or Wednesday, and they just got, in our churches, diagnosed as crazy. and they never got the help that they could have gotten. And so I too can admit that I just, because that's what I heard and that's what I knew, I just said they were crazy. They probably need deliverance, because we love to throw that word around. They need deliverance, and they just need to go about their business. And so now we're at this place where our people are hesitant about getting into therapy. And so why do you think that is? I want to start with Jalissa. Why do you think that our community is so hesitant into getting into therapy?
I think a lot of it just has to do with exposure, not really having any mentors or friends or family members that one openly spoke about their problems. So we all like to figure it out for ourselves, or what happens in our house stays in our house. That's nobody's business to talk about what's going on. So I think it really starts there with just not wanting to truly be vulnerable, not wanting to let anyone know that something is wrong. We see it as a weakness when in reality, there's so much strength in reaching out and just saying, hey, I need help. How can you support me, or I'm not doing well? Also, in addition to the church, I think a lot of it just has to do with ignorance, and especially when it comes to not knowing what the true definition of therapy is, like how Magda explained it perfectly. It's not necessarily about just going when something is wrong, but just preventative care. And truth be told, whether we've realized it or not, we've all experienced some form of trauma. I'm 29, going to be 30 next year. Next month, excuse me. And there's a lot of stuff that I look back on now as an adult, like, whoa, girl, you was going through it and you didn't even realize it. So we're just so accustomed to some of these negative behaviors and just unhealthy relationships that we don't even realize how much we need therapy. But it does seem as if we're getting a little bit better within our community. There is a bigger desire to seek therapy, but now it's just all about cost and finances and really being able to afford true quality therapy.
Latrice, thank you so much. Latrice, why do you think that our community is so hesitant to getting into therapy?
Well, I agree with Jaleesa. I think that there's a lot of different cultural barriers that exist. For such a long time, we were not able to talk about the things that we were dealing with or the things that we were struggling with, because the truth of the matter is that one, nobody really cared about what Black people were dealing with and about the traumas that Black people were experiencing. It is not lost on me, and I'm sure I can speak for all of us on this call, but really all Black helping professionals, that this industry was not created with Black people in mind. And so, we are very, very aware of the fact that they literally did not care how we were doing when all of those traumas were inflicted upon us year after year, century after century, generation after generation. And then we finally get to a place now, or like within the last, 60 to 70 years, where, we have these civil liberties, and had gone through this fight to be seen as a full man, and now we have where our generation is really the first generation benefactors of the civil rights movement, meaning that we are the first generation that have never known a life without freedom,
Right.
without full and complete and total freedom. And so we are now in a place where financially Black people are doing better than we have ever done in history. Educationally, Black people have been more educated. We are the most educated Black cohort ever, like ever in existence, point blank period. And we, for the first time, really have the time and the resources to think about how we feel. Our predecessors they could not think about how they were feeling about things. They needed to survive. They didn't know if this moment was going to be their last moment. They didn't know, if they was going to be, somebody was going to come knock down their door and, X, Y, and Z. So I think that historically, we've never really been in a place to be able to share because it just was not safe for us to share. And there were no safe spaces created, meaning nobody ever really said that they cared about what it was that we had to share. But then also because it just wasn't practical for us to share, we didn't have time to do it. And so, like Jaleesa was saying, there has definitely been a shift. We're seeing that mental health and making a priority of your mental health is kind of trendy right now in the Black community. But as the church folks say, it don't matter why they came, it matters why they stayed. You know what I'm saying? So you could come for the good old trend and to be on trend because Tamar and them is going to counseling. I'm okay with that. But what you gonna do when you get here and I hit you with that real? You know what I'm saying? That's that's the question. So I'm happy to see the trend. I'm happy to see the direction that we're going in. And like Jaleesa said, my hope is that more of us who are seeking therapy can actually be connected with quality therapists, so that their first experience is a positive experience, which increases the likelihood that they'll keep doing it.
Magda?
Yes, let me this just jumped in my spirit, so I need to make sure I put this one out there. So, when you grow up in a house and you're being sexually abused, for example, or you grow up in a house where only the loudest people get heard, that's your norm. You don't realize that that's not the way things really are in other people's worlds. You don't get that message. And so when you have Black women or Black men who have the opportunity to matriculate and go to college and meet other people from different parts of the country and hear their stories, you start to realize, wait, what I went through, that's not normal. People don't talk to each other like this. Like, people don't touch each other. Uncle so-and-so wasn't supposed to be touching all of us like this. Like, this is not everybody's thing. And so I think sometimes what holds people back from getting help is them not even realizing that they needed it to begin with. So I think when awareness is brought, people see different things. They realize, for just like Latrice was saying, you see Tamar over there getting therapy. Oh, that's not normal that we talk to our friends that way. That's not normal that we do people like that. And then there's that awareness piece that people then realize, I didn't know that this wasn't normal. I didn't realize I was not functioning appropriately. I didn't know that I was doing this to this person. This is all happening subconsciously. This is just how I was trained to survive. So definitely.
Yeah. Can I just piggyback one last time, girl? Because, she hit on something that is so important to me personally, but also I think to the overall journey, is that, like she said, like Magda said, when we grow up in an environment that normalizes those types of traumas, no matter whether it's somebody touching you or somebody yelling at you or somebody putting you down or somebody not supporting you or whatever your trauma is, right? Because everybody's trauma is different. So when we grow up in an environment and in a culture that normalizes the traumas that we have experienced, when you do kind of wake up and kind of have that wool pull from your eyes and you say, hold up, it don't have to be this way. I don't want to live this way. Then you have to prepare yourself for the reality that you might lose some ties, you might lose some connections. And that in and of itself is a journey and is a process of like wrapping your mind around learning how to be okay with not having the same kind of relationship with your mama that you used to have, or because she doesn't understand why you need to go down this journey, or not having the same kind of relationship with your sister or with your brother or with your auntie and uncle them, whoever it is, because you need to go down this journey because you have decided that this is not okay. This is not the kind of life that I want to live. And so I think it's important for us to, kind of as we promote getting mental health and promote seeking the assistance that we need in order to pull ourselves out of the normalization of those traumatic experiences. We have to understand that inherent in that change is loss, and we
Mm.
have to prepare ourselves for those losses as well.
Oh, that is so good.
I got
That
it.
is so
I got
good.
it. I
Come on,
got it. I
Cinnamon.
got it.
Come
I
on.
got it. I got it. She hit me on my word loss. That's my word right now. Um, One thing that I do with a lot of my clients is that we examine when they feel lost, we examine LOST, the list of supposed tos. And as you, Victoria, brought up intersectionality, as we're talking about what it means to be a woman, what's on that list? What Magda, stop it. Well, if we're talking about being a woman, what's on that list of supposed tos? What, and our lists are created as we grow up. It comes culturally, geographically, religiously. What does our family teach you about what it means to be a woman? What does society teach you about what it means to be Black? What does the community teach you about what it is to be a church member? All these different lists come with their own expectations and things that you are supposed to do versus things you're not supposed to do. And one thing that is on all of those lists is you're not supposed to need therapy. So why don't we go and get therapy? We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to need it. As women, we're not supposed to need it. As Black people, we're not supposed to need it. As Christians, we're not supposed to need it. As a Black female Christian, I'm definitely not supposed to need it. So what happens when I find myself on a couch sitting across from a professional talking about things that I can't sort out? I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to need this. So it's difficult to reconcile that. And so I have to take a set of sessions and go through with some of my girls. Okay, so what's on your list? How did that get there? Who told you that? Who fortified that lesson for you? And now let's see, is that really your truth? Is that really what's real for you? That might have been real for Auntie Nessa. Okay, cool. That's how Auntie Nessa wanted to live her life. That's how Auntie Nessa wasn't supposed to lead a man that was abusing her. Okay, that's Auntie Nessa's lesson. But is that your truth? And what is this doing to you? So we got to go through it. When they feel lost, okay, let's examine. Let's break that thing down, because 9 times out of 10, what brings a woman to my office is that some external thing has happened. Somebody has died. There's a breakup. They lost their job. They don't know what to do next. Okay, but that's like Latrice said, whatever brought you here, I'm just glad you're here. Now we can talk about some of the other stuff that may have gotten you to this point of feeling so
Oh,
lost.
that is so good. Everybody breathe. Everybody watching, just breathe. Because I talk about healing all the time, and it goes back to healing sometimes hurts more than the actual part of going through the trauma. Because a lot of us don't remember the trauma, we didn't recognize it then, but when you have to heal out of that, that thing hurts so bad. Because with that, like Latrice said, there is a separation of friends, there's a separation of your norms. Like your norms change because you're healing. So you recognize, like, I don't want that in my life. So that is so good. And that's what therapy and all of that stuff affords you. It affords you the opportunity to look at those things. So, whew, that is so, so good. All right. So we're talking about the Black community and the Black church. And I want Jessica to kind of share, because one of my questions that someone posed to me was that the reason why their friend group does not think of therapy in a way like they need to do it is because they have a mistrust of the healthcare professionals, period. Um, and you think about Black women, I'm talking about Black women. We have kind of that mistrust in our community because when you're pregnant with, you go to the healthcare professionals and they don't hear us, they don't take care of us. So, what can you say to those women who they know they need the help, but they just have a mistrust?
I would say, just like everything else we do in our community, you should do it communally, right? So we learn to do everything as a community. The only thing that we don't do communally is heal. We will go through shootouts, gun violence, pouring liquor out, getting t-shirts made, coming to the church house, doing GoFundMe's, the whole gamut. But we keep the in shame. We don't address the things that aren't going well for us. We don't say, this is how I hurt. We continue to profess being strong Black women. We use that as a trauma identifier. So versus me saying that I need help and I need community, I need my strength to identify my trauma, to continue to isolate myself. So when I get into a platform that I feel like wasn't designed for me or designated for me, I don't know how to ask for that help. So there are places I can look for to find somebody who, one, aligns with my belief system, who looks like me, who has the language to help me navigate said system, who has the back door, the lock key, the plug, if you will, to get through that. But when we don't say, hey, this is where I'm at, because I've been conditioned operating through how I was raised. So my learned behavior was children are seen and not heard. Beautiful women don't do this. Good women don't do that. So we have these things that we're now identifying as things that make us good or perfect or acceptable. That is now what really identifies our trauma. Because if I want to step outside of that, I'm an embarrassment and it's shameful. When the truth is, something has happened to me, not of my own accord or my own volition, that has now formed my identity. So we were born Black. We didn't choose Black. While Black is great, we didn't choose that. So something about our Blackness said to people, keep your hand down. Don't be loud. Don't talk too much. Don't ask questions. Don't embarrass me. So now we have these 13-year-old girls and 42-year-old bodies that don't have the skills or the words or the verbiage outside of their shondos and quoting Psalm 91 to be able to navigate adult problems. Because operantly, they're still 13. So they're waiting for permission to ask for space. They're waiting for permission to say, hey, this is what I need. They're waiting for permission to say, hey, I've earned this spot as CEO, whatever position that I'm in, to be able to advocate for myself, to even say, how do I find somebody to help me navigate something that was not built for me? At the end of the day, whether that was built for us, it's built by us. The CNAs are Black. The HHAs are Black. The janitorial staff is Black. My nurses and my doctors are Black. My parents were Black. And most of them are immigrants at that. So while America was not built for us, it was built by us on our back and through our lineage. So it is our right. It is reparations to go through and say, run me my money, run me my 40 acres in the mule. I need to get good quality. If I'm paying Humana or whomever for whatever my benefit is, run me my service. Like, plus tax, because I've earned that. And when we are able to get our voice for that versus WAP and everything else, and we can focus on the main thing and come to the community for stuff like that versus Black is king and all this other stuff, and really say, hey, you know what, as Black women, we're going to use our time, our talent, our vote, our influence to say we're not going to take second, third, fourth, 72nd best. We are number one and number one only, and we'll perpetuate. That's all.
Ooh, that's all. My goodness.
You gotta let me jump in. You gotta let me jump in.
Magda.
Listen. All facts, Jess. All facts all day long. Listen to me. I have had to teach my clients how to verbalize when they are not happy or when something is not going well for them. Growing up in Haitian culture, you are taught to listen to your authority figures, do what they tell you to do, don't ask, no questions, bring home that A, and that's all I care about, right? And so now, like Jess said, now you 42 in a 14-year-old body, and now you can't tell your healthcare provider that you don't agree with them. That is not okay. So I've had to teach my clients, listen, you are a partner with your providers. Okay, you are the expert in you, not them. They know the book stuff. They know the theories. They understand the problems, but they don't understand you. So if you don't speak up, you're not going to get the care that is uniquely supposed to be given to you. So it is vital that if they give you something that you don't want to take, you say, I don't want to take medication right now, right? I'm not oppositional defiant. I'm sad. And this is what my sad looks like. Because, yes, I am a Black woman, but my sad and my depression looks like this. So, no, I don't need that medication. I don't need you to send me here. This is what I need. But if you don't say that, because listen, psychiatrists, there's not a whole lot of Black ones out there. So if we have to go and get the deal with what we got to speak up, because if not, we'll end up taking stuff and doing stuff that we don't have no business on because we failed to speak up for ourselves. So absolutely, we got to learn to speak up. We have to learn and ingrain in our heads that just because these people got doctor in their names don't mean they're the expert on me. I'm the expert on me. And therefore, we're going to come together and collaborate so that we can create a plan that's going to work specifically for me.
I love that. I'm not oppositionally defiant. I'm just sad. Oh my God. I'm just over here like, Jaleesa, you wanted to jump in? Jaleesa?
Yes, I did. So I actually work at a school as a full-time counselor, and one of the pillars of our organization is to really help girls find their voice. And it's something that they're always very nervous about initially. And they're always asking, Miss J, can't you just speak for me? Can't you just talk for me about this? And I always tell them, no, you have to use your voice, use your words. I may be a professional, I may be older than you, but you truly know what's happening internally with you. I can give you book knowledge and I can say all of these things, but please use your voice. There are some adults who tend to belittle younger girls, specifically Black girls, and try to tell them how to live their lives or try to negate their experiences. And that's one of the biggest things that I do not tolerate. I'm all for young girls, especially starting at as early as elementary, middle school. Be your own advocate. Know what advocacy is. Know how to support yourself even when no one else is listening. And to go to your initial question about how does someone ask for help when they don't trust healthcare providers. So you go and get that one consultation. If you don't like what that person is saying, you move on to the next person, and then you move on to the next person, and you do not silence yourself until you feel as if someone actually hears you, sees you, and is willing to take those next steps with you. So don't give up. Don't be discouraged. Don't take one answer for what it is. Continue to go until someone hears you, because truly right now at this point, our lives are depending on it. We cannot allow any more Black women to die due to childbirthing experiences and not being heard by staff members. It's absolutely ridiculous and heartbreaking. So we cannot give up on ourselves because we're just another number to them, and that's not okay.
Oh, I love that. Use your words, because I mean, we could stay on there all night, because even with because I've been in education for so long with our Black boys, oh my God, they struggle so hard with using their words, and it's sad for me to see it, and then I have to step in and advocate for them. And then of course I'm looked at as, oh, the angry Black lady on campus. But it's just so sad that we as a community have to teach our kids, and because we need to normalize it so that other people of other hues do not see it always as angry when we actually advocate for ourselves, because that's the first place they go to. You spoke up, you're angry. Miss Jessica.
Okay, something I wanted to say. We keep talking about using our words. At what point were we taught outside of therapy or graduate to identify the feelings that are sadness or anxiety or frustration? We have been taught as Black people the only socially acceptable emotion outside of joy is anger. So we don't have the words to articulate what's oppositional versus what's not. I have sat in meetings when I first started. I did peer support events. I thought how people ask how they felt when they couldn't identify a feeling because we're so used to just doing. we're doing? Well, I'm busy. I had a long day. No, how do you feel when you feel sadness? Where do you know? How do you know you're sad? How do you know you're depressed? How do you know you're anxious? You need to be able to have the words to articulate what your needs are. And because we have not been given verbiage to identify anything other than, well, she's bad. She got slick mouth. He doesn't pay attention in class. These we've been given titles, or we've been given, and or our trauma response has been shut down, where we've been told this is okay and it's normal. So your hippocampus is like, oh my gosh, this is an issue. Your brain is telling you, no, 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 this is not okay. But you're then being told what's done in this house stays in this house. This is okay. This is like, I'm big, you're little. So we don't necessarily then, when we get to a point to articulate or to explain that we're in pain, okay, well, we just suffer in silence. Like, we're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to crack. We're definitely not emotional intelligence people. We're just now learning emotional intelligence. We're just now learning how to operate from a sphere of responding, listening to our bodies. Latrice is still teaching me today that crying is okay. Like, real time, August 18th at 9 o'clock at night. I'm still learning as a 34, 35, and a month-year-old that it's okay to cry outside my shower. Like, present day, full therapist, growing practice, and I'm still like, I promise you crap about that. Like, I should really just tough it out, thug it out as a clinician. Because my human experience is that my trauma response is wrong. So now not only we're getting words for it, we're having to go through and undo what we've learned as normal. So I can turn our body back on to where that thing happens, and I'm allowed to respond appropriately and in proportion to what happened to me. So you call me out my name, not only am I not responding, I'm going to explain to you how to speak to me. I'm going to put up a gate and a fence. So now you have a boundary and a way out of my space. You need to have that versus me shutting you down, quieting you up, or canceling you. I'm going to explain to you how to deal with me moving forward, but I need those words. I need the skill set to say what is and what's not going to be. I need the ability to then say, oh my God, this is a visceral or guttural or physiological. My body is responding. Why? Not press past that, thug it out, don't cry, figure it out, pray about it. Don't get in sackcloth and ashes. Don't run around with olive oil on your forehead. Don't wrap yourself in a sheet and bring out your tambourine. Like, figure out why the body that God gave you is responding this way. He made it. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. Why is that body responding this way? What is your body? What is the Lord, the Holy Spirit trying to tell you through the visceral response that you're having versus trying to shut that down?
Yeah, and let
Yes.
me, I just want to piggyback on that because I think it's so important for us to understand, like Jessica said, the reason that we lack the words is because we have never really explored what it was that we were feeling. We don't know ourselves well enough to be able to identify where we are or what it is that we're feeling. Like she said, anger is the only socially acceptable expression of emotion, outside of joy, outside of happy. You know what I'm saying? Anger is the only socially acceptable form or expression of emotion. And so, because all of the base emotions feel so similar to each other, we think we're angry, we think that, you know, we're upset about something when really we're embarrassed, or really we are hurt, or really we might be frustrated, you know what I'm saying, which is not exactly the same as angry, but everything comes out as anger. I worked with a young lady, 18 years old, and she was having like these panic attacks, like just serious shutdown, complete, like it was actually seizures. She was having panic seizures. And the doctor was like, nothing is wrong with her. Like, there's no physical reason for this to be happening to her. So he sent her to me. This is when I was in private practice. And so the first question that I asked her is, you know, how are you feeling? Like, what's going on with you? What happens when you fall into these seizures? What are you feeling in that moment? And she was like, well, I don't know. I said, well, girl, do you talk to yourself? Do you check in with yourself? And she was like, no, I don't talk to myself. Only crazy people talk to themselves. I said, sis, you don't talk to yourself at all, girl. Like, none at all. Like, standing in front of the closet, like, girl, what you want to wear today, girl? We gonna wear this pink shirt today, or we gonna wear this blue shirt today? Like, you don't talk to yourself at all? Like, none? at all. And there's so many of us that don't. We are not communicating with ourselves. We are not checking in with our internal beings. And there's lots of historical reasons for that. There's lots of modern day reasons for that. Like I said before, we are the backbone of existence, right? So not just the Black community, but all life comes from Black women. And so because we carry the weight of the world, literally, so many of us feel like we don't have time to check in with ourselves. But when you are the person that takes care of everybody else, when you are the person that is responsible for the well-being of everybody else, if you're not okay, nobody is okay. And that puts you at the top of the totem pole. That means that you have to prioritize you, because prioritizing you ensures that you can show up for the people that you feel like you need to show up for consistently and in a healthy manner. You know what I'm saying? So, really communing with ourselves and talking to ourselves, getting to know who we are on a much, much deeper level allows us to then build the vocabulary that we need in order to express how we are feeling about things. And working with the therapist can help us to be able to do that.
That's good. Cinnamon, and then I want to settle this question that so many Christians have. Go ahead, Cinnamon.
Okay, I just want to quickly say that many parents are sending their teens to therapists because I get so many. Many parents are sending their teens to therapy, and I have a whole consultation with the parent before I agree or not to engage their child in therapy. And my first question is always, so who are you talking to? Because let's be clear, if your child is coming here and we're going to
Let's
start
go.
working through some stuff, they may come to you and start saying some things to you, because now we're working on their words, we're working on their emotions, we're working on their processing of certain things. And if they're going to start speaking to you and opening up to you about things that they've uncovered, you're going to need some help dialing into your own stuff with some of the things that's going to come up. And like you said, and where do you think they got this from? You're their first teacher. So if you have been keeping it to yourself, like you said, not checking in with you, and you have learned not to check in with you, and your child has learned, I can't check in, I can't feel my feelings because mommies don't feel, crying's not allowed. Mommy can't cry. Well, I can't cry. What you crying for? Quit crying all the time. Blah, blah. I hear it all the time. Well, when they start letting some stuff out, are you prepared? Have you checked in with you as well? So as we're talking about learning how to navigate our feelings and feel our feelings and identify them and then bring words to them and process them, and we're talking about the next generation and other people being able to feel comfortable. Because let me tell you, this next generation, they have no problem. They don't have the problems going to therapy that our generation had. So if they're processing, but you are not, my tip is you might want to find yourself somebody to talk to process some of the stuff that might be coming up for you as well.
Ooh, that is so good. I hope y'all are taking notes. I hope that this is blessing you all, empowering you all. One of the biggest questions I have is, can you still remain a faithful Christian and still seek out therapy? Anybody want to tackle that?
Yes,
Jessica,
absolutely.
Magda.
For due diligence, you must be whole and well. It is egregious to be bleeding on people because you are not healed. To be in a pulpit preaching and having your issues unresolved, your trauma falling because you can't heal what you don't have. Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. So he had to have a relationship with the Lord. He had to go through and do some things and go through and endure some things to be able to be Paul from being Saul. So there's a process you must go through in order to be able to really help somebody else heal. And therapy is a part of that process. The same way we go, like Maggie said, we go to the doctors and all these other things. And again, we've not been taught how to deal with our emotions. So we're not going to talk about only your trauma. The human experience in and of itself is going to see therapy for. Like I see my therapist every 2 weeks, and I have no problems going on right now in my entire world. Like I'm good. Life is going really well for me. But every 2 weeks, it's at 2 o'clock. Clock in my time. Get your coins. Let's talk and let's have that narrative. Because when I'm unwell, you don't need laying hands on you and giving you what I got. Because there's transferring the spirit. And there's something called a familiar spirit. So if you and me are battling the same thing, I'm going to go through and pass off to you, him and his homies, for you to go home and rest of the life. So now all you're doing is altar call. You're not really praying. You're not really fasting. You're not in community with nobody outside of Sunday morning or Sunday school or after church hangouts in the parking lot fellowship. So you're isolated from the body first and foremost, because if you were in community with somebody would say, hey, because I've been praying for you, because this has been going on, I see you in the natural and in the spiritual, and you need to be more than just what's happening here. So it is our, as ministry leadership, we need to be getting those spiritual tune-ups and check-ins, because we need to have godly counsel. We need to have natural counsel. We need people that are going to go through and check us, that have different skill sets than we have, because it takes all kinds. Nobody's going to get cancer, so you don't sit down and pray about it. I'm not taking my chemo. I'm not taking my medicine for my diabetes. I'm not checking my sugar. I'm going to keep in salt when I have. Nobody's doing that. And the same issues of the natural that come onto our body, like stress will kill you. Stress has to do with your mental health. Hello, somebody. Like, there are things that happen in our lives. Our marital issues, for the man that I prayed for, because it was better to marry than to burn, and I have no idea about sexual health. I have no idea about what it means for my body to belong to me. I never learned my body was a temple meant. I never knew how to take care of and respect my body. Now I'm being abused by some men that I thought was from God, because the idea was to get married, to get my MRS degree is the first reason I'm going to tell you about. Come on, get your missus. Then when are you going to have kids? So you put all these pressures on people who may not be, again, emotionally mature enough to handle those things. And we then don't pair it with sound teaching in the church. People will fall out and shine over from here to kingdom come. If you can't walk this walk, you can't get up on Monday and pick up your cross and follow him, you got a problem. You can quote every psalm, every whatever, you quote Genesis to Revelation, up, down, forward, backwards, exegesis, whatever. In context, all of that don't matter if you are struggling day to day. And it is a disservice to the cause of Christ to walk around bruised, battered, broke, busted, because I'm a Christian. Nobody wants to be your broke, busted, disgusted, depressed, angry, resentful Christian. They don't want that God. So don't walk around with my God's name on you, and that's who you want to be. So if you're walking around with Christ's name on you for my sake, get it together. Because that's not the Christ that I know. When I was out dotting and blocking, that wasn't the Christ that saved me. When other people that I needed to do, that wasn't the Christ that I met. That was the Christ I encountered. I encountered a loving, caring, forgiving, teaching Christ. A Christ that gave me grace, which taught me to deny ungodly things. That taught me to reach up higher. That taught me to move forward. That taught me who I needed to be and not be around. But also taught me that there people had gifts and talents I needed to sow into. So if there are many talents in the church, we ought not bury them. Why are we not talking about counseling? Because we talk about it when it's godly counsel. And we put pastors in the roles of therapists who have not gone to school to be able to help you and help you navigate through what's happening to you, and then blame the church. But you won't seek out actual counsel, or your pastor is still stuck in the days of where he has to do everything. So he's the apostle, the teacher, he's the whole fivefold ministry, and he's the bereavement group, and he's also doing bedside stuff. He's the youth pastor. He's in charge of food and everything else, and can't focus on hearing from God for a word for Sunday morning for your soul. But you won't go to therapy. But you'll dent get your coins every 6 months. And he will tell you, I can't do for you in one business, don't do it an entire year, but you won't go to therapy. To be able to live your life. Like, your life will happen between Sunday services, between your chats with your girlfriend, your massages. That's where life happens. If you don't have a toolkit or somebody to walk by, like Magda said, it's expert to expert. So I'm navigating life, and I have no real handbook of how to get through my experience. I have the Bible, basic instructions before leaving, or the book of principles. I have my moral code. I have the things that my ethics board, whomever for my profession has told me to do. But when I get stuck in my lonely, when I get stuck in my sad, when I get stuck in my worry, my anxiety, my overwhelm, how do I navigate that? How do I navigate through just being Jessica, not Jesse's wife, not somebody's supervisor, not the Y Love leader, not the youth team person, not what I have to just be Jessica. At the end of the day, how do I learn to navigate that? And while we can find our identity in Christ, there are parts of us that need people to help navigate and to grow and to develop us. And it is a disservice to the body for you to be underdeveloped or retarded in an area because you refuse to go get help. So you can't minister and be handicapped. So if you have unresolved childhood come to you because, oh, I'm bishop, deacon, whoever, Jesus is not worried about that. It's only worship positions available in heaven. He don't need no deacon board. He don't need no ushers. He don't need no first Sunday communion. He don't need any of that. Our position is to worship, and if we are worshiping men, not able to do, we are doing a disservice to the body.
Magda.
Woo, woo. All right. Listen, I stand on this verse with everything that's in me, and that is be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is cognitive behavioral therapy in a nutshell. You cannot be changed. You cannot be a functioning Christian unless you get what's up here together. And sometimes when you're so hurt and you're so depressed and you're so sad, you can get to the building, but you can't hear nothing that's coming from that pulpit. And if you can't get the word in you to begin with, how are you going to fully be able to walk in your purpose that God has set for you? And here's how you know. The saints want therapy, but you know what they do? They go talk to the other people who's hurting in the church and then wonder why their business gets spread all over the place because they're not required by law to keep confidentiality. Okay, then they want to understand how they end up on the prayer line as the main topic in their whole business while everybody praying for you in the whole situation because you need help. You need to talk it out. Naturally, that's what you're trying to do, but then you set yourself up, right? So I fundamentally believe that you cannot fully engage in your God-given purpose. Everything that you're going to do is going to come from the wrong place. It's going to come from a place of self-centeredness. Even if you muster up the energy to serve, it's coming from a wrong place. It's coming from a place of maybe if I do enough, I'll feel better. Or maybe if I serve enough, maybe I'll feel better about this situation or that situation. And that's not godly. That's not why we do what we do. That's not why we serve. So I absolutely believe that therapy is a necessity. If you're hurting, if you're in pain, if you have trauma, whatever the circumstances, get help. Get some help that's really going to support you and help you clear out your mind and clean it up so you can actually hear the word of God and you can actually walk out your God-given purpose.
Ooh, that is so good. Aileen said the saints do want therapy. Many are getting it too. And if you are someone that is getting therapy, encourage others to do the same. Don't let people dump all their stuff on you. Be like, you know what? Let me refer you to someone that can help you further that because a lot of us are playing therapists and child, that gets too much for us. So I've been referring people. I'm quick to get that.
Listen, when I first started, I had a private practice in New Orleans, and the way that I got into doing like programs, creating curriculums and stuff like that was because I created a program to try to promote my business. And the first place that I went to see, try to get that program set up was in the churches. They were the first ones to welcome, the information that I have. And there's this stigma that church folk don't believe in mental health, and like that's oh, that's, you just got some demons in you and this, that, and the other. And I mean, there is that group, there is that subset of church folk that it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're not trying to hear it. All they need is the Lord. They just need to call on God in prayer and everything is going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? For them, as far as they're concerned. But I think that overwhelmingly, more so than not, church folk are looking for some type of mental health support outside of pastor. And it doesn't necessarily mean that pastor is not able to provide guidance. It just means that pastor cannot provide it to me in this type of way, in a very structured and concerted kind of way where, I can rely on the science that is being provided. I always say mental health is not an exact, it's a science, but it's not an exact science. But it's a science nonetheless, and it is built on scientific evidence. And because we have free will, I think the part that people miss is that mental health and spirituality are like one and the same. There is no separation of those two things. I use the analogy that we all have multiple personalities. I think we have at least three beings that live inside of each one of us. You have your emotional being, you have your logical being, and then you have your spiritual being. And each one of those beings plays a very specific role in your life. And each one of those beings is constantly generating in the background. Now, we pull certain ones to the forefront when the situation calls for it, but those beings are always there. So your spiritual being never goes anywhere. Your spiritual being is there in every decision you make, every processing of every trauma, everything that you have, every emotional up, every emotional down, every negative thought, every positive thought. Your spiritual being is there. There is no separation of those two things. And I think that the man-made division between mental health and spirituality is what we are combating, what we are fighting against. But keeping in mind that is man-made. That division does not exist naturally. That is a man-made thing that people have intentionally gone in and tried to separate our emotional experiences from our spiritual experiences, because the people who would benefit from us having that separation need us to have those things separate. They need us to be split in that way. They need us to not see the connection between those two things, because they need us to not be whole. Because if we are whole, we are way too powerful and we cannot be controlled. You see what I'm saying?
When we are whole, we are way too powerful. Oh, that need to be on a shirt. Oh, that hit me. Man, that was good. Oh, y'all preaching. Oh, I cannot wait. Like Jaleesa said, I can't wait to watch the replay because I need to take notes. Because I know we're having conversation, but I just want to go back. Ooh, I hope those that are watching are being blessed. And if things are triggering for you, okay, focus. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about uh, traumas that specifically deal with Black females, because that is mainly my audience. And so I want each of you all, and we're going to try to be as brief as possible because I want to hear all of you all. One or two things that you think is really prevalent when it comes to Black females and things that they need to sort out and that they need to seek mental health about. And I want to say the reason why I want to talk about everything in all aspects. Don't limit where you think they are. But in our community, we know that Black women are not getting married as much as they used to anymore. We are like single. We are struggling in that area. We have all these lists, and all social media has taken us out of sorts. Talk to that as well. So I want to start with Jaleesa, and then I'll go to Cinnamon, and we want to hear from everyone. What do you think is the most prevalent thing that is affecting Black female?
Whew, okay. So I
I
can
know
just
it's a
speak
lot.
from my personal it is, girl, my personal experience and what I'm currently dealing with right now. So I am engaged to be married in less than 6 months. And as we approach the date closer and closer, I really just think more about how I did not have a present father in my life. I didn't grow up seeing what a healthy parenting relationship looks like. So it is something that I think about often. And although I believe that I'm okay, I'm still engaging in therapy in hopes to uncover some things that I may have missed or some things that I just assumed about myself. Granted, we did pre-engagement counseling as a couple, but me just really wanting to explore it more so for myself as an individual while stepping into this next role of wife and eventually motherhood. So definitely like how the effects of having an absent father in our life and how it deals with our relationships and the choices that we made. Because although my fiance is who I truly believe is who I'm supposed to be with, prior to him, child, I was a hot mess. And I know that it had a lot to do with me just not having that foundational relationship and having like a role model in terms of fatherhood. So that's where I'll start, just based on what I'm currently experiencing right now.
Well, congratulations on your engagement, but oh my
Thank
God,
you.
I can so resonate with that. Not having of my father in my life, but not having my father in my life, if that makes sense, because I've shared him with the world. So he wasn't as present and as in tune and as emotionally available as I would have needed. And so, ooh, that shows up in marriage. My Lord today. All right, Cinnamon.
I'm going to say overall, something that's traumatic for Black women is feeling like we're enough. We are good enough. We are smart enough. We are sexual enough, and that's okay. We are, sensual enough. Is I had this conversation with somebody when they were like, well, what if I don't have WAP? For those of y'all who know what WAP is. Okay. I'm still calling it worship and praise. But anyway, I'm still there. But somebody was like, well, what if I don't have WAP? Am I not, does that mean I won't get married? Like, it's just, what if you don't measure up? Are you thin enough? Are you thick enough? Are you short enough? Are you tall enough? If you're going natural, is your hair big enough? Is it small? Is it this? Is it that? Is it blah, 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 blah? It's just so much. It's so much. And it's like, so what if I'm not tall enough? What if I'm not what if I'm short enough? What if I'm not thick enough? What if I'm not thin enough? What if I do cook good enough? What if I don't cook good? Because baby, I went through that. I'm not a chef, nor do I have a desire to be in the kitchen cooking for any human being on the face of this planet. I don't care who you are, husband, child, mama, dad. I don't care. I don't have a desire to be in the kitchen. And I have been told over and over again, well, that's why you're not married. So be it, boo. Because if you're marrying me for food, you marry me for the wrong reasons anyway. So I'm like, are you good enough? Have you measured up enough? Did you smile enough? Or did you speak up enough? Did you speak up too much? It's just so that one thing can go in 5,000 different directions. Feeling, am I blank enough, has become very traumatic, not just for adult women, but like Jess said earlier, the 13-year-old in right. Cardi says she don't cook or clean, but she got the ring, right? but but it's like having that 13-year-old and that 42-year-old woman's body at some point. Why did she stop? Why did her growth stunt at 13? What happened there that emotionally you're still at 13, but you're 42? And you feel like you're not just. Did she feel like she's not enough? That she didn't grow into her boobs fast enough because the other girls in her circle were developing before she did? Like, there's just so many things that end up becoming traumatic, because what happens when a girl thinks she's not attractive enough, she starts opening her legs to show you, yes, I am attractive enough. Hey, men, boys, come look at me. And now she's sexually traumatized because she did something before it was time for that to even happen, before she can mentally understand what that whole act even means. And now she's walking through the rest of her life thinking, why won't men like me? I got WAP, blah, blah. It's so much. It's so much. It's so much. And so for me, I think one of the things that traumatizes a lot of Black women is just trying to measure up and feel like we are blank enough. I'm stopping.
Magda,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I am going to talk about the relationships that we have with our parents, right? The relationships we have with our mother that was there or the mother who wasn't there, and the relationship we have with the father who was there and the father who wasn't there. Because let me tell you something, even though they are there, they can cause just as much damage being there as if they wasn't there at all. And I think that that's important because what I'm finding in my practice, I have at least 5 or 6 women that I'm working with that do not have friends. And the reason that they don't have friends is because they say they can't trust anybody. And why can't they trust anybody? Because of the relationships that they have formed with their parents that were unhealthy, whether it was the abandonment of daddy, whether it was mama in the way she talked to me, she didn't affirm me, she didn't, tell me I was pretty. She told my sister she was pretty. My sister was lighter than me. And so therefore I was the ugly one. And so now I can't trust other women who are light around my men. So I can't have no friends, etc., etc. And they're suffering because they don't have community. I don't know what I would do without my community of social workers, without my tight-knit community of my best friends, what I would do without these people in my world. I don't know where would I be without my husband. And let me tell you something, my relationship with my father, it was good. There were issues, but it was pretty much good. And I'm thankful for that. But just imagine what women are going through who didn't have their father or had the father who was there, but was extremely abusive. Right? So I think that women, Black women, they are experiencing a lot of relational challenges, relationships with their significant others, relationship issues with peers, and they are just saying things like, well, I can't trust them because they did that and they did this and the other, and they are not aware that this is stemming from the relationships with the father and mother that was there and or the father and mother that was not there.
Magda! Okay, I had to say that. I'm sorry.
whew, I am wrecked over here between I just the no friends thing. I just find it very strange when a woman does not have any friends. Uh, okay, okay, we're focused here. We're online. Miss Latrice, what is the thing that is being traumatic with Black females?
Listen, I'm so glad that you came to me next. I was lightweight, kind of hoping that you would come to me next because what to piggyback off of this idea of why you ain't got no friends. I think a huge issue that a lot of Black women struggle with is the relationship that we have with ourselves. So Magda talked about our relationships with our parents, but I think that the relationship, I think also because she was speaking truth. Hallelujah. I feel like, I hope that y'all heard what she said, because I have said that a gazillion times. Like, that is a very real thing, whether they are there or not. They are contributing to who you are as a person. But I also think that your relationship with yourself is an important part, and it's the part that I think a lot of us kind of overlook because we are so dependent on our relationships with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And so one of the things that I think is the biggest culprit in terms of the trauma that Black women experience is that because we are the nurturers, because we have so many expectations that are placed on us in terms of taking care of everybody else and putting everybody else first, and this, that, and the other, and kind of living with the secrets of the world, all of the secrets that are forced upon us, that we're forced to keep other people's secrets. We spend a lot of time in survival mode. We spend a lot of time just trying to be okay. I'm just trying to get up and go to school tomorrow. I'm just trying to get up and go to work tomorrow. I'm just trying to wake up day after day and function on the most basic level. I'm just trying. I'm just trying. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So we
mm,
spend so much time in survival mode. And because it starts at such an early age, during the time, like Jay was saying earlier, during the time that we would be developing an understanding of who we are in survival mode. So we don't have time to figure out who we are. We don't have time to build that relationship with self, right? We don't have time to be in a place to ask ourselves, what do I want? What do I need? What are my boundaries around this situation? What are my expectations for the roles that people play in my life? What is a good relationship to me? What is a healthy relationship to me? Because I know that what I'm seeing, that ain't it. Like I know that ain't that. I could feel it in my bones that ain't healthy. But because I don't have time to contemplate, because I'm just trying to make it to the next day without falling completely apart, because I don't have time to really pay attention to the things that I want and I need, I never really get a chance to build that relationship with myself. And so what happens is we harden ourselves. We harden ourselves so as to protect that person on the inside that we haven't really met yet, but we know she in there and we looking forward to getting to meet her one day.
mm,
We know she in there and we know that she needs to be protected. So we get real hard on the outside and we say, I don't need no friends. Right. So I don't
mm,
have no friends because I don't need no friends, because all I need is me, myself, and I. I don't have no man because I don't need no man. I don't need no man to do nothing for me. I could pay my own bills. I could this, I could that. Yes, sis, but you're not you can hold yourself too, sis. You can hold yourself at night when
mm,
when stuff is going on, you know like it's not feasible for a lot of us to be able to connect to our internal beings in a way that allows us to truly know who we are. And I think because we do not truly know who we are, I always say, if you don't know who you are, how could you possibly make good decisions for yourself? You don't know yourself well enough to make healthy choices for yourself. Right. So I think that that's something that we absolutely need to look at, but we need to look at it from a place of nurturing, from a place of love. I feel like it's too many people out there that's saying, girl, get your life together, girl. Like, it's a lot of coaches and a lot of people who cater to Black women that are, they speak so harshly to us, and I don't know about y'all, but I don't resonate with that. You're not, what you're not going to do. What you're not going to do is keep talking to me crazy. That's what's not going to happen. And I don't care how deep your message is, sis. I don't care how many millions of dollars you got. I don't care how many testimonials and all of this and all of that. What you're not going to do is keep playing with me, girl. That's not going to happen. So we need to be able to receive that information in a way that is firm, right? Very firm, but also nurturing and loving, and making us know that it is for us, that healing belongs to us, that this is something that it is our birthright, right? This healing is our birthright. It's not something that's just for the white people on TV, or, for the people who can afford it. Like, healing is mine and I deserve it just because I exist. And that
mm.
begins with being intentional about healing that relationship with ourselves. I believe it. I believe it because I live it. I live it.
Healing is our birthright.
Yeah.
Oh, if oh Jesus, if we because we And when you talked about the whole harshly piece, I could have just grabbed you and shook you, because we talked about this. I had some entrepreneurs on one of my panels, and we have that whole culture of women empowerment. I'm all for it. But a lot of the times, these women empowerment women are really mean women masked behind, oh, I want to empower you. And I just can't. I can't deal with it. And they make that cult like culture, like all us got to wear red bottoms. And until you get on my level to wear red bottoms, you ain't own it. And foolishness. And all we've done is we just hurt more black women. And they done spent their
Don't
last
even get me started, because let me tell you what it is. So a lot of them, this is what it is. Anybody can call themselves a coach. I'm a life coach as well, but I got my certification as a life coach. But if you didn't know, I'm gonna put you on game, sis. Anybody could wake up tomorrow morning and say, you know what, I'm a life coach. That's all it takes. That is all it takes. And when you have had so many years of being able to put on a facade, when you have had so much experience at pretending to be somebody that you are not, it's real easy to convince 1,000 other people that you are that person. So I could jump up here, and because I talk fast and I look good, and I look good in my dress, I got on these red bottoms, I'm living a life where I can give the appearance that I'm living a life that you say you want to live, then I can tell you whatever it is that I want to tell you. And so we have all of these people that are presenting themselves as healers and presenting themselves as qualified to provide the information that Black women around the world are actively seeking, okay? And because they have no idea of what they are actually talking about, they are facilitating additional trauma in the Black community, specifically around Black women. So I might get up here and tell you, well, this is what I did, girl. When my man cheated on me, I told him X, Y, and Z, and this, that, and the other. Yes, since you could tell me what you did to get over it, but just because that's what you did, don't mean that was the right way to handle it. And you telling me that that's what you did, and they got you over it 5 minutes later. But what happened 30 minutes later when the camera went off and you was laying in your bed by yourself, crying yourself to sleep? You're not telling me that. You're not showing me the other side of it. So when I share my journey, I share all parts of my journey. My village, they know what the struggle looks like. I'm very intentional about making it clear to them that yes, the journey is a powerful journey. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey, but it is also difficult. It can be very hectic at times. There are a lot of ups, but there are a lot of downs as well. And we have to get through those downs because the growth is in the downs. That's where the
Mm.
growth takes place. The growth is in the struggles that we experience along the way, right? So being in a position where we see all sides of it from people who are genuinely invested in our well-being and not just in making the money, because it's a lot of them that's all they worried about is getting the money. You give me this $5,000 and I'm gonna teach you how to make $5,000, how to get people to give you $5,000. You know what I'm saying? Just all you got to do is give me your $5,000, and then you get in the thing and they say, girl, I sold a class on how to sell people $5,000 classes, and you gave me your $5,000. And it's like, sis, but you didn't teach me nothing just now. Nothing at all. And this is what's happening. They're setting these unrealistic expectations. They are creating this idea or the concept of mental health and healing being something that is a luxury. And it's not. It is your birthright.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is your birthright. Did I hear from Jaleesa on what is plaguing Black women?
Yes, I spoke about fatherhood.
That's right. Miss Jessica, what do you think has been the biggest thing for Black women?
I wrote down some things that were covered, but I think the biggest thing is that we're just objectified. Like there's always something we're supposed to be, supposed to do. There's a role that we're supposed to carry, and all the things that have been said really go through and perpetuate that objectification. I think the hardest part, particularly, is for those who have been overly churched and have not really been had the opportunity to have relationship. When you get into a marriage, a friendship, a any kind of shift you hop into somebody else with any shift you hop into somebody else, if you've been objectified, you don't know how to be present because you only know what should happen. I should have a high sex drive because I waited all this time to get married. I should really enjoy cooking even though I hate cooking. I should love to do laundry and dishes and we go through all of these things and places and parts and ourselves like Tree said that we haven't even explored. Cinnamon said you won't order cantina every night or learn to cook. But what we not gonna do is having in that kitchen other than for some water. Like I'm not doing it. And she's very clear about where she stands in that. I find particularly women that I have, they've been told so long who they are, what they are, and how they should be that they're trying to fit into the object, the frame, the mold that was created for them, and they have no voice. They have no understanding of who they are, what they enjoy. I have women that are married for years that never had an orgasm. And they're just like, well, my husband, so I'm a what? Where do that? Like who? For why? You done got hot, sweaty, naked, and for what? You gotta wash sheets and towels and stuff because why? And like things like, and we don't talk, and that sounds like real crazy, but we don't talk about stuff like that. Like I should be beautiful. I should stay in the gym. Let me go get this 6 pack abs. Then carry this baby, get these abs back again. Make sure my hair is long and flowy, or I buy good edges, grow good edges, whatever particular thing may be. And inside, I'm depleted. I'm walking around the thinking that Jesus cursed because I've met all of the goals. I have my degree. I have this. I have that, and I have no hope. I have no purpose. I have no sense of identity, but I have met the objective. I've been justified. I've met the goal. I can check off every single box. I done made 6 figures. I done did this. I didn't. And you're miserable. I was so excited when I made clinical director in my early 30s because I was making 7 figures. I was the youngest person at the table, and I legitimately hated my life. For the year that I did that, I did not recognize because I saw in the mirror. I was the most physically unhealthy. I mean, my dude was out to eat all the time. $300 dinner is no problem. Like you want to get, what do you want to get flued out? Like all those things, and none of that mattered because the object of my affection was further objectifying me. So we don't learn where to place our affections, particularly with ourselves first. We perpetuate this objectification of ourselves. And culturally, it's the appropriate thing. Everybody wants to be the plus size model, not the big girl that's too short to get into plus size modeling, not the girl with the dreads that stop growing because she has alopecia, not the girl who has facial hair from her PCOS, not the girl who's had 15 miscarriages and can't have kids, not the girl whose baby daddy done left her over and over and over again, not the girl who can't get through why her daddy never showed up for visits, not the girl who's trying to figure out why she can't manage a budget, not the girl who is just whatever your ism is. Because at the end of the day, we have to just continue, like we gonna hustle till we die. For what? To just be dead? Just to be dead, to say, like, okay, if your dash means nothing, you're just like, you've gone through all of your time, you hate your job, you hate your career, you hate your man, you hate your church, you hate everything around you, you're objectified. And we glorify, as a culture, we glorify our list of things. When we get that when we get that objective met, there's glorification. So you got all these student loans for a degree you don't really want, for jobs even really hiring, to work somewhere you can't even afford to pay attention after getting your bills. Common sense is a luxury if you're so broke. But here I am, MSW, LCSW, whoever, Doctor such and such, and nothing is happening that is of any fruit in your life that is merited. So maybe you're growing apples, you have apple allergy. Why does that help you? So what I find the most is the objectification, and particularly in Black women, because we're so like in the barrel of she not gonna outdo me. What sis said was I'm gonna show so and so and da 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 da. we're pinned against each other naturally. That's just what they do. Because when we come together, the power is like ridiculous. So if we can pin me against Maggie because Maggie's getting her DSW, I don't have LCSW. She thinks she better, but she got a DSW. She like adopt somebody. Girl, I don't want to write on paper. I don't want to go to school again at all. Like unless it's free, I'm not going. When I get a free program, I'm gonna go. But other than that, but I'm gonna tell Maggie, oh, you better than me because you got a doctorate degree. Oh, Trees, you licensed in Louisiana, you better than me, or New Orleans, you better than me. Like for what? Cinnamon, you got practices in Miami. Jay, you for why? Like at the end of the day, most of us don't even want to be those other we fight about. We don't want to be the person testimony their man left and I got a million from this lonely journey. I love my husband. Like I enjoy being as goofy as I love him. I don't want to have the $1 million I'm lonely, miserable, and single ministry. But we objectify that because for her it was her coins. It was she got her bag. And so we look at those things and we don't count the cost of the journey to get to where we like to be, or we get there and we're supposed to the journey to get there, but we don't get to enjoy our final victory. So maybe your goal is to lose 5 pounds, but you're still morbidly obese. Did you lose your 5 pounds? Did you lose your 5 pounds? Did you lose 3 pounds in plastic because of your period? Like, did you make progress in the direction that you're going through? Because we look at these big, huge, like massive goals, and we choke. I don't know. Ask Jay. My biggest thing is each elephant one bite at a time. We're taught to like make this elephant of things to get done, and until the elephant is gone, we can't celebrate. Latrice has taught me if every time I have the smallest one, I thought I have a parade. Like I'm like, baby, that we just gonna worship. Like I have had to learn that in my journey, every step toward the end matters because for us, it was okay. Well, we made it to the end. Now what's next? And there's not even a time to stop and enjoy that process because the object of our affection is the next objective, further objectifying ourselves. So I believe that is essentially the nutshell of what we've all talked about. Whether it's a fatherhood issue, I gotta go back to if my man leaves me. I gotta go through and do my list of my shoulds. All these pieces and parts end up falling into the further objectification of us as a people.
Yeah, that's good. Magda, you wanted to say something?
Just real quick, I just wanted to talk to the people who are still dealing with stigma and want to see a therapist, but because they're ashamed to see a therapist, they go and seek a coach. So what I want to say to those individuals is go ahead and tell yourself that the therapist you call in is a coach, okay? Because when you need treatment, you need treatment. Okay. And I don't, there are some good coaches out there. I'm not going to knock all of them. I've had plenty of them who referred clients to me because they recognize their limitations. But you got to be careful out there. And if you out there coaching, you need to be mindful because people's lives are in your hands. People who are too embarrassed and too ashamed to go and say, I'm seeing a therapist, they would rather say, I'm seeing a coach. But it is not helpful for them. They're not getting what it is that they need. So that's what I wanted to say. That's my piece
That's
on that.
so good. Well, I want to wrap up tonight's conversation. I had one more thing that I wanted to talk about, but I know if we start talking about it, it's going to open up a can. Okay.
I said bring it on, girl. Bring it on.
Okay, we have to do this. We have to do this because I want to hear you all's perspective. So, there's a gentleman. His name is Mr. Kanye West, and I wanted to talk about him because every time there's conversation around him, they're just people talking, and I wanted to hear from people who have studied human behavior.
You're breaking up. After Kanye, yeah.
Okay, let me see my connection. Do you hear me now? Okay. So what I was saying is when we talk about Mr. Kanye West and all of his things, they usually have commentators talk about it, but we don't hear really from professionals that understand how the brain works talk about this because we all know a Kanye West. We all have a Kanye West in our family. We all have encountered those types of personalities. And like I said before, we have just written them off as crazy. And so when I think about him, I just wanted you to kind of share, when we see those things, what are we looking at? And when we see them in our families or we experience them ourselves, what are we looking at? And how do we or those people get the help that they need? Anybody want to go? Magda?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go get mine out the way. Okay, so first and foremost, I don't personally know Kanye West, and as a clinician, okay, I cannot make any official diagnosis or say that any particular thing is wrong with him without officially meeting him and being able to do a thorough assessment and come to an official conclusion. That being said, there are a lot of different things that can be going on with Kanye West, from the death of his mom to the accident that could have caused changes in his brain to a number of different factors that can be contributing to the things that we see when we see him in the media light. Okay, so I always say, when you see people in the media light, and you see that they're struggling, don't be so quick to go into judgment. I would say pray for them and hope that they're getting the support that they need with the people who care about them. That being said, that brings us to the people in our own homes who we need to support and care about them, right? So when you see your family member and they're not the same like they were 3 months ago, you see their eating patterns have changed. You see their sleeping patterns have changed. You see that they're more aggressive than usual. You see that they're short-tempered more than usual. You see that they get to missing days at a time, and when they come back, they look like a whole different person, like they have been using some type of substance or something going on. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore the small changes, right? Because small changes become big changes, and then it becomes out of control, right? Where now you're talking about hospitalization, and now you're talking about doing extreme things to keep them from being a danger to themselves or to others. So I would say pay attention. A lot of us are gifted to be in a home environment where we're not surviving only anymore, right? We talk about, in our profession, we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay. And what this theorist was saying was that at the core of what everybody needs, people need to feel safe, right? They need the proper nutrients. They need the core things that helps them to function on a daily basis. And a lot of us are functioning on that level, that we can't get to a place of self-actualization. So if you're in a home where you have a roof over your head, you guys are not worried about a meal, pay attention. Pay attention to the small changes. When I see my son's face change and I see his eyes droop, I'm on it. What happened? You okay? What's the matter? Oh, nothing. No, something's wrong. Do you need some love? Do you need a hug? Do you need a kiss? Yes, mommy. Okay, come and get it. I don't necessarily got to know what's going on in your 12-year-old world, but come on and get this hug and get this love that you know is available to you. Pay attention to your family members. Be there for them. Support them. Encourage them to get the help and the treatment that they need.
Anyone else? Cinnamon?
A lot of times when I'm doing like a presentation, I use the illustration of a boiling pot of water. So you have a pot of water that's on the stove and it's boiling. You see the steam coming up. But if you're standing, I don't know, 10 feet away, whatever, all you really see is the pot and the steam. So what we see, like Maggie said, I'm not up close and personal with Kanye. I don't know all the stuff. What I see is the pot, Kanye, and what I see is the steam. Actually, what I think I'm seeing is even some of the water splattering out of the out of the pot. It's a lot going on, and it's like, But the question then becomes is then what a lot of people try to do is we try to look at, so is that water in the pot? Or is it something else in the pot? I think it's water. Well, I don't know, because I don't think water splashed like that. And so we start trying to speculate and guess what we think might be going on, and what's the ingredients of what caused this, perfect storm of what we now see is happening in his life. And we look at some of let me go ahead. We got the steam, that's usually the behaviors that we're seeing. But then we got what's actually causing the steam, the boiling pot of the water is boiling. What's causing the water to boil? The heat onto the pot. But what we do in therapy is we don't look at what's causing the heat on the pot. We look at what's controlling the knob on the stove. What is it that's turning it up and down? So if we're that up close and personal, like somebody in our family, we may notice when the heat is a little hot or the heat is down a little bit. Like what Magda was saying, if you see the little changes, you see certain things, that's something we can do. And what can we do as family members? Get them to some help. That's what we can do. If I see my cousin having a seizure, I'm not gonna pick up my phone and go to Google and see what is it that I'm supposed to do. I'm calling 911 because we need to get some professionals in here that know already, have been trained and know what to do. And I think a lot of the times we go to WebMD, we go to Google, we go to y'all stop going on Facebook typing your questions. You could type your questions somewhere else just as easy and get an actual answer instead of getting everybody's opinion who's just as uneducated as you. Okay, I had to say that. I'm done. We can go somewhere, get an actual answer. We can contact a professional who already has the training and knows what to do. So if we've got somebody in our family and we start to see those little nuances and it's like, not sure what to do, get them to somebody who probably does know what to do. That's what you can do. That's what you can do. Get the horse to the water. That's what you can do. No, you can't make them drink, but you can focus on what you can do and you can get the horse to the water. That's what you can do. So that's what I would say to the people, for your family members, your friends, yourself, get the horse to the water. As far as Mr. West is concerned, we just gonna keep praying. I'm going to keep praying that he somehow, some way falls in the hands of somebody who is equipped to help that young man, because I don't think I would be. He's going to, he can't just go to any old therapist. He's going to have to go to somebody who's anointed to deal with him, I think. That's my opinion. I'm like, I don't know if he could come to my office and I can service you. I don't think God has anointed me for such a time as this. So I'm just going to keep praying that is what happens for him.
All right. Any last thoughts before we close out?
I just would like to add, real quick about Kanye. So, of course, like Magda said, none of us are his therapists. None of us have sat down with him, so we cannot make a diagnosis or anything like that. However, they have come out. He has verbalized on his own that he's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and his wife has also come out and confirmed that in support of him. And I'm not caping for neither one of them. I'm not a Kardashian fan. I feel like that family, they chew black men up and spit them out on side the road, girl, and it bothers me. Okay, but let me come on down off my high horse for just a moment. So I'm not a huge fan of theirs. I definitely don't rock with Kanye, new Kanye. Old Kanye, yeah, but new Kanye, no, sis, I can't do it. But I think what I would like for more people to understand is that he is dealing with a disorder. This is not just Kanye waking up one day deciding that he want to do some real off the wall kind of stuff. This is not playing devil's advocate just because I gotta have something to say. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know that. That person that just always gotta be different from what everybody else, just for the sake of being that way. It is obvious whether we are personally able to do it or professionally able to do an assessment on him or not. I think any clinician worth their weight in gold, not even their weight, girl, a fraction of their weight, can look at Kanye and see that he is experiencing a break of some sort. It's evident in his appearance. It's obvious. It is obvious that he is dealing with something. And when Kim Kardashian put out the iOS press release, girl, talking about, how difficult it is, people gave her a hard time. Right. And that was the one one time that I actually felt like I could come, the one time, girl, the one time that I could actually kind of come to her defense and say, unless you have experience, I have a family member, a close family member that lives with bipolar disorder. And I have watched his children go through life trying to have a relationship with him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know, firsthand, secondhand, you know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't in my household, but it was close enough, I know what that looks like and how difficult that is on a family. And so when she says this is the most difficult thing that we ever dealt with, I believe her, because one of the hallmarks of bipolar disorder is that they do not take their medication and they are extremely, extremely difficult to keep on any type of regimen. You know what I'm saying? But the thing that they need most is the medication and the regimen. And so it is actually a hallmark of bipolar disorder, what she described and what we are seeing play out in the news. And like Cinnamon was saying, we just seeing the steam, girl. We don't even know what's going on in the pot. We all, it's all kind of things going on in the pot. And so I think I'm really big on learning things from pop culture. I think that there's a lesson in every experience. And from this Kanye experience, I would like for us to just pull from that empathy and understanding for people who are struggling with mental illness, because mental illness is real. It is very, very real, and it impacts people's actual lives. And so to us, it's entertainment, but that's that man's life. That is his actual life that he's trying to figure out in whatever way that he can. And since he called his wife and his in-laws white supremacists, I can't imagine that things are going well. You know what I'm saying? So he have a lot of things that's at risk. And so I would have to believe that if he could not do it, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I think that Kanye, I don't agree with none of what he said. And I do believe that there's a certain amount of accountability that everybody has to take for their actions, no matter what it is that you're dealing with. At the same time, though, I think that Kanye needs, some empathy right now. And he needs for us to be able to understand that this is more than just Kanye wilding out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, ladies, oh my God, I am full and I am so grateful that all of you all could come on. I totally agree with you, Latrice, when it comes to Kanye West. And I too look at pop culture just to look at relationships and how people deal with things and how that whole thing works. I am not a celebrity, but I do know how it feels to be in the spotlight and not wanting to be there and having everything that you do in my little small sphere be scrutinized and looked at and all of that stuff. And so I do have empathy for him. And I know with also having people in my family that have been diagnosed with that and how difficult it is, like you said, to cultivate a relationship with them is very, very hard. So this has been an amazing conversation. Angel said another great conversation. Asia said, thanks for showcasing these Black female therapists. I hope that all of you all were able to get their information. I'm going to post it once we get off, because if you are in need of services, reach out to them. Make yourself available and they will point you to the right direction or become one of their clients. But our goal and our purpose for tonight was to, first of all, make mental health, just expose how important it is and how important it is for us to make sure that we are seeking out professionals, and making sure that we are taking that part of our lives seriously. And I love what I'm going to call her Pastor Latrice. Pastor Latrice told us on tonight that therapy and our spirituality go hand in hand. And a lot of times we try to separate it, but it is a part of, like Magda said, that verse that tells us that we must renew our minds. And so I thank all of you all so much for taking the time out. I really, 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 really do appreciate it. So many people were blessed. Shout out to my friend Aileen for getting me in the presence of these wonderful Black female women. I'm so appreciative. For those of you that are on here, don't forget we are back next week, Monday, August 24th, and we are having a conversation about Black marriages. I invited some of my close friends and couples to come on to talk about how we can build together and bring an awareness back to the Black family. And so I hope you all will join me for that on next Monday. Again, ladies, do not leave. I have something to tell you when we get close the live. So you all panelists, stay on. For everyone else, I appreciate you. Again, share this broadcast if you haven't already, and let people know. Go back and watch the replay and let people know all of this great information that went on tonight. Shanika, mental health is real and needed. Well said, ladies. There's so many good things. Thank you, ladies. Blessed tonight. All of these things. Panelists, go back and look at the comments because they've had so many great things to say. All right. Good night. Have a great night, and I'll see you next Monday.